Let's enter Weird Showbiz History.
He's David Cassidy's father. He's Shirley Jones' husband. Other than that, I know you never heard of him. Jack Cassidy.
The psychic told him that a cigarette would lead to his death, not through lung cancer, but through fire.
Jesus Christ. Jack Cassidy.
Mr. Cassidy was burned beyond recognition.
Show business offers you the world on a silver platter. But what no one tells you is that platter can be really effing hot. And for every star that rises, another gets burned. Today we're talking about an actor who had it all. Industry acclaim, movie star wife, a family dynasty, and a bonfire of vanities burning inside him that would in the end consume everything. He was the man who wanted to be the brightest star in the sky, only to be eclipsed by those he loved. This is the story of Jack Cassidy and the destructive race towards his final fiery curtain call.
My special guest today is a man of many talents. He is a forceful dramatic actor. He's an amusing light comedian. And he's a gifted singer.
Cassidy, born in Richmond Hill, Queens in 1927, was a performer from the start. He was a natural, a kid who knew he belonged on a stage. But his greatest talent might have been his confidence, being able to walk into a room like he owned it. He possessed that rare, magnetic quality that draws eyes, holds attention.
It's too bad your wife can't buy talent for you the way she buys parts. You need it.
I'm warning you, Maxine, leave my wife out of this.
Why?
By the late 40s, Broadway called, and Jack answered, sweeping onto the stage with a rare, sophisticated charm.
You ever know I used to be quite a hooker before I started to sing my way into America's hearts?
He was one of the new princes of Broadway. He was a triple threat. He could sing, he could dance, he could grow a beard.
Baby, you're improvable. It won't take long.
But while he excelled in song and dance, there was always something more. A certain glint in his eye. A theatrical flourish that hinted at a deeper, more complex persona lurking beneath that polished surface. Jack modelled this on and off stage persona of a sophisticated, debonair dandy. He was, to put it mildly, a character, and the TV industry, ever hungry for such, soon took notice.
All right, Jack, you think she can keep a secret?
She's kept one of the biggest ones here in town.
Has she really?
Quiet, darling.
Would you stop following me? I'm busy. I was always doing that. So we finally did get together. He finally grabbed me one day and said, listen, you've got to listen to me. So I did.
Since 1948, he'd been happily married to the beautiful actress Evelyn Ward, birthing their son who would eventually become a global sensation.
Jack Cassidy. How are you? Glad you could join us. Just in time for the eggs.
Yummies for the tummy.
But Jack's ambition was bigger than one stage and bigger than one marriage. While touring in Europe in 1954, he met the one woman who could match his star power. Plucked from relative obscurity to appear in 1955's Oklahoma, this fresh-faced singer from Pennsylvania became America's sweetheart.
Flying in from the United States comes the young star of the picture carousel, Shirley Jones. Her first star part was in the film version of Oklahoma.
I know what you're thinking. Surely you can't be serious. Well, I am serious, and don't call her Shirley.
He said, I know who you are. And he said, I'm really looking forward to working with you. Well, those blue eyes just twinkled. And I thought, well, he certainly is charming.
For Jack, it was lust at first sight, pursuing her relentlessly, even while still married. It was a scandal waiting to happen, but Jack's charm was irresistible.
You really followed her, let's face it.
I did a little chasing her, that's true. As a matter of fact, I asked Milady to be my wife the very first date.
Yes.
When she and Jack got together, their chemistry was instantaneous. Their affair passionate, and their marriage in 1956 cemented them as one of Hollywood's golden couples. A perfect couple with perfect teeth and a seemingly perfect future.
And on August 12th, 1956, you and Shirley are, as Jack said, married. Where,
August
Jack?
5th.
August 5th. Let me check that out of there, will you? You give me another date like that, Cassidy, and
They had 3 sons together, adding to their already blended family. Jack, the debonair star, Shirley, the sweet as apple pie songstress. But most fairy tales have a dark forest, and in this case, the big bad wolf was Jack's own ego.
Egocentric.
Maniac.
As his public notoriety increased, the more he played up to his John Barrymore caricature.
He and she, everybody says it's going to be the smash of the season, and I'm so glad you're in it. Very funny man.
And the 1960s saw Jack Cassidy become a ubiquitous presence on TV, gracing nearly every major variety show, game show, and dramatic anthology series of the era.
I don't know what to say.
How about fantastic, sensational, super sensational?
Oscar, you are great.
Well, that's a start.
He was one of those rare guest stars who would appear and just totally steal the show. Very much like Paul Lynde would do as well. Any excuse to do my Lynde impression. When else am I going to do it, man? Yet beneath the glittering exterior, the shadows were beginning to gather. Jack's talent was undeniable, but his ambition was perhaps even greater. And movie roles, well, they weren't exactly forthcoming. He craved the leading man roles, the kind that would cement his legacy as a true Hollywood icon. He believed that he was destined for so much more than just guest spots and supporting turns. And when those movie opportunities didn't materialize as quickly as he desired, a simmering frustration began to boil. In 1961, Shirley Jones did the unthinkable.
Miss Shirley Jones.
She stopped being the sweet ingenue and won an Oscar for playing a prostitute in Elmer Gantry.
This is the proudest moment of my career.
Suddenly, she wasn't just a movie star, she was a serious actress. And in Jack's eyes, he felt he was seen as just Mr. Shirley Jones.
That's very difficult for a male and a female, man and woman, to not end up being competitors in a marriage.
Jack, I would tell you how much I love you, but I know you're going to tell you later.
I did everything I could to play myself down in that way. I really took a back seat. I just would almost sit in a corner and not speak if Jack was in the room because I wanted him to be the one.
Shirley Jones would later recount the earliest signs of his erratic behavior, his grandiosity, his sometimes extremely cruel wit.
The most marvelous ego-building thing is when somebody that you respect comes backstage or comes on the set and says, "That was a brilliant performance, Shirley."
I always go backstage and tell her that was a brilliant performance. Anything to get a good meal out of it.
The persona that he created was now indistinguishable from the real person. And that person, it seemed, was beginning to fray.
Why don't you go into acting? As soon as I leave here, I'll try it out.
You have to understand that Jack's pride was his Achilles heel. He loved Shirley, no doubt, but he also craved being the main event. And when her star went supernova, it cast a long shadow, and he was standing right in it.
I knew that I was the breadwinner. I was bringing in, I was taking care of us financially. And so I wanted him to have the attention in every other direction.
Look at how pretty she is. And there's a good shot of me in the background. Did you see it? Yes, I do.
Maintaining such a grand public image whilst not living up to it made him increasingly detached from reality.
My dad had a really hard time with reality. He created his own world of fantasy that he lived in that he did not want to leave.
Even winning a Tony in 1964, it still didn't give him the acceptance that he craved.
He went on to win a Tony Award, and every show that he was in, he got the reviews, even if it wasn't the lead. So that was his medium, but it didn't please him. He wanted to be a movie star.
Hollywood struggled to find a place for him. By the late 60s, his performance style and persona became outdated. The day of the Barrymore-esque matinee idol performer, it neared an end when the dawn of the rugged everyman began.
I know you'd rather have a good, strong character than to be good-looking. Well, I think you have character. It shows those little character lines around your mouth.
What lines?
TV wasn't casting him as the caddish romantic lead that he envisioned for himself, but instead pigeonholed him mainly as a pretty boy villain or homicidal maniac. He started drinking more, his spending got out of control. Custom suits, extravagant parties. He was trying to live a bigger life than the one he felt he had. Indulging in anything to distract him from looking inwards. Love affairs, drugs, mysticism.
You got a terrific fireplace here. I wonder why they didn't get...
He gained an obsession with the occult. A psychic had recently given him a chilling premonition.
A cigarette would lead to his death, not through lung cancer, but through fire that consumes everything in its way.
He'd constantly be checking that fireplace, completely and utterly paranoid.
Darling, who said that? Me. Hey.
Wait a minute. Dawning on you now?
Yeah.
Knew you'd get it.
I can't think of another actor that made a bigger contribution to the launching of the Columbus series than Jack Cassidy.
Then came the 70s. While he continued to work, appearing in excellent character roles that showcased his range, even earning an Emmy nomination for his performance in the Andersonville trial.
I can't tell you, I was crying backstage because I thought they were going to do my life.
The truly seismic shift in their family's fame came not from him, but from his son, David Cassidy. But if he thought his wife's success was a tough pill to swallow, what came next was a dose of poison.
What I got was anger, and hostility, and jealousy.
I love me. I love me not. I love...
In 1970, his son from his first marriage, David, landed the lead role in a new sitcom, The Partridge Family. Real-life stepmother Shirley Jones, of course, played the matriarch, a role that also added to her immense fame and fortune. Jack, with his classical training and Broadway pedigree, he viewed the bubblegum pop phenomenon with a mixture of amusement and contempt. But irregardless of his feelings, the show was a monster hit, and David Cassidy became the biggest teen idol on the planet. Overnight, Jack Cassidy went from being the husband of a movie star to the father of a pop icon. He was now 2 steps removed from the spotlight, and it began to eat him alive.
The irony of my success was the more famous I became, the more successful I became, the more he resented me.
We'll start the question with a man who I believe has a teenage son of his own, Mr. Jack Cassidy.
Thank you, Gary. Well, he's practically in his teens.
There are many stories that David will later recount.
One time he grabbed David Cassidy at the height of his success and said, "Tell me I'm in the will, tell me I'm in the will," because David was making so much money.
It was half joking, but only half. The jealousy was incredibly real. It was a sickness. The sickness had a name, manic depression, what we now call bipolar disorder.
Jack is manic depressive, and he started to go into a real breakdown. I didn't recognize it then, because I didn't know what it was about.
The diagnosis came in the early 70s. It explained his wild mood swings, the irrational behavior, all of his grandiosity. One day he'd be the life of the party, the next he'd be in a dark, paranoid depression. Shirley tried desperately to hold the family together, but it was like trying to patch up a sinking ship with bubble gum. The early 70s saw his mental health spiral downwards.
You think it's a good idea for you and Shirley to work together? Is that going to be fun or fireworks?
It's going to be a lot of money, I can tell you that. But I'm such an easy person to get along with. I don't see how you could have any difficulty.
Early 73 saw the couple try and save their marriage by creating and taking a show to Las Vegas called The Marriage Band. But it soon became abundantly clear there was something severely wrong with Jack.
We are? We are?
Go easy, Jack. We have a show to do later.
Wow. They only come to see Shirley anyway. Oscar winner. Mrs. Partridge to the whole damn world.
Shirley began observing a person that she didn't know. He returned from a solo walk, bursting into their hotel room with a glassy, faraway look in his eyes. Jack had seen an oak tree that spoke to him with the voice of his late mother, warning him that cigarettes would be the death of him. On other occasions, he would just walk into the street completely naked, and whoever was available would then return him back. The tipping point for Shirley was when she found him in a hotel room claiming that he was Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Jack Cassidy. JC.
Fearing for both of their safety, Shirley ended up pulling the show. Once in the comforts of their own home, she hoped his episodes would soon pass, but they only increased in severity. One night after returning home, Shirley discovered Jack had set fires roaring in every fireplace in their house.
Wherever they had a fireplace, wherever he could start a fire, he had. He was totally lost, almost in a trance-like state. And he said to Shirley, as she recalled it later, "Look at the flames, aren't they beautiful?" And when she called the doctor for help, he was setting fire to the coffee table, and it was obvious to her that very quickly this whole house was going to be one huge inferno.
She made a decision there and then that she could no longer protect him. His mind had slipped into a dark realm, and it no longer mattered if the condition was related to booze, lack of sleep, mental illness, or the lack of industry acclaim. The security of their children now took priority over salvaging their marriage. A doctor was swiftly called, and Jack Cassidy was taken away in a straitjacket and hospitalized in a psychiatric facility.
He was diagnosed as manic depressive, and medication was prescribed for him, which at times did help him, although he very quickly separated himself from taking it. He just refused to take the medication.
The drinking got heavier, the mood swings swung more violently. The fairy tale marriage was now a Hollywood horror story. In 1974, after years of trying to hold it all together, Shirley Jones filed for divorce. Their 18-year marriage was over, winning custody of their 3 children, helped by her stepson, David, who testified in her favor as opposed to his own erratic father. It was a heartbreaking end to a once picture-perfect Hollywood romance, leaving Jack adrift, his anchor to reality slowly slipping away.
He wasn't fulfilled totally in his career, so the drinking was a big part of his life. Partying was a big part of his life. Other women were a big part of his life. And, you know, when you say what broke up the marriage, you know, it could be a combination of all those things.
The dishonest partner in our marriage was not Shirley, but was me. And it's true.
That's lovely of you to admit that.
Because I shouldn't have stayed married all those years.
By 1975, personal appearances on TV became more strained.
Dr. Woods, it's my pleasure to introduce to you now a beautiful lady, a fantastic actress, and a writer of unrestricted bounds, the lovely Joanna Bond.
And privately, friends became increasingly concerned by his behavior.
Shirley and he at the end was just too much. He loved to come here for weekends, and I'd loan it to him. The last time I loaned it to him, and I mean the last time, he left the coffee pot on, and it almost burned the house down.
We didn't talk for the last 9 months of his life. The more I did to make him proud of me, the more it alienated him from me.
His personal life was at its lowest, but his professional life was finally looking promising.
I'm sure you understand the consequence of failure.
He continued to work, appearing in guest spots on shows like Columbo, where he was ironically often cast as the very sort of arrogant, charming sophisticate that he embodied in life.
That's the letter.
Oh, no, Lieutenant. Oh, you see, this letter was burned.
Jack earned plaudits starring in W.C. Fields and Me. The role was that of his idol, John Barrymore. With the Partridge family finished, it was finally his chance to claim the family spotlight. Now living alone in a West Hollywood apartment, a solitary figure haunted by past glories and present anxieties. The mental health struggles persisted, exacerbated by his continued drinking. He was brilliant, yes, but increasingly isolated, increasingly lost within himself. The final act was about to begin. December the 11th, 1976. Unable to convince his ex-wife to join him for the evening, he had dinner with actress Donna Theodore. He was erratic, hyper, and she got a bad feeling.
All of a sudden, I saw his behavior change. He was very hyper, running all over the restaurant. It was just strange behavior. The kind of thing that any kind of an upper will do to you, and especially if you combine it with any kind of drinking. But I had this chilling feeling of something was wrong, and that I absolutely had to go home. And I said, I want to go home, and I want to go home right now.
Jack dropped her off and invited other friends back to his place for a nightcap.
And in front of his fireplace, he had a vicuna rug. And I said, Jack, have you had that fireproof? And he said, no. He said, I don't need to do that. He would flick his cigarette into the fireplace. He said, I never miss.
After his guests left, Jack went bar hopping. He returned home sometime around 3 a.m.
Jack Cassidy was alone. He poured one last drink, sat down on his sofa, lighting one last cigarette.
As soon as the door got kicked open, felt like we were overcome by the heat and smoke. I actually thought we were going to die in. Probably the most terrifying experience I've had. After the fire was completely extinguished, I walk in Mr. Cassidy's residence. It was very burned and charred. Mr. Cassidy was burned beyond recognition in the living room area.
The place was gutted. There were no fingerprints, no face. The coroner couldn't make an identification until they found two clues. The first was a signet ring on the body's finger bearing the Cassidy family crest. The second was a partial dental plate. The premonition had come true. The man, terrified of fire, had died in one. The cause? A lit cigarette dropped on the sofa after he'd passed out from drinking.
Policeman had said there were a lot of cigarette butts all around this sort of chaise or place where he was sleeping, and that's so unlike Jack.
He was very methodical about everything, so to have it burn like that was just unbelievable.
The news of his death sent shockwaves through Hollywood. A star, once so vibrant, extinguished in such a lonely, tragic way. His funeral was an Irish wake full of laughter and stories, just like he would have wanted it.
Jack's funeral was one of the funniest events. It was like a roast that you could ever go to, because that's who Jack was.
A final performance for a man who never left the stage. He left behind a complicated legacy. He was a consummate performer, a Broadway star, a prolific TV actor, but he was also a husband, a father, a man whose personal struggles often eclipsed his professional achievements. His sons, David, Sean, and Patrick, would all go on to successful careers in entertainment, carrying on a piece of their father's artistic spirit, and often speaking with a nuanced understanding of the brilliant, troubled man who raised them.
You put all four of us together in the same space, you might get most of the talent he had. Because I think he had more than any person I've ever met. And I just feel blessed to have what I've got.
I never fell out of love with a man. That was the thing. I never fell out of love.
That just about finishes us here, right?
In conclusion, Jack Cassidy was a man of immense talent and crippling insecurity. A man who desperately craved the spotlight, but could never escape the shadows cast by those he admired and loved. An accidental death, the coroner ruled, but for those who knew him, it seemed like more of an inevitability. A reminder that sometimes the biggest blaze is the one that you can't see, burning right behind the eyes. So what do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into weird showbiz history, don't forget to like and subscribe for more strange and fascinating stories from the world of entertainment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.